Good morning, Nilesh.
Morning, ma'am.
Why so long?
Ma'am, saw the message just now, ma'am. So,
Okay. Shall we start, or students will they take some more time?
ma'am, then will join, ma'am.
They'll join. Boys, is the PPT visible to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any doubts in the last class? Boys, do you have any doubts in the last class? So by today, I think I'm finishing the
No, ma'am.
first part of the module. Only a small thing I have to complete. If I complete that today's class, I'll finish the first part of the module. Okay, students can eventually join in. So I want to start with the class. So in the last class, we were discussing. We were discussing about the terms used in bookkeeping, which was left pending. So I just want to continue on it, right? So quickly write down somewhere. Okay, write down somewhere. The terms that we use in the bookkeeping will be, first one is business transaction. Prince, you've joined in late, so we're discussing about the terms used in bookkeeping. The first one I'm discussing is about business transaction. Okay, so what is business transaction?
Okay.
Business transaction, what does it mean? It basically involves in the transfer of money, okay, from one person to the other person. from one organization to the other organization. Okay, so whatever transactions happens between two people, two organization, we call them as a business transaction. Is it clear? See, this is one important question. You can have explain the following. You can have 4 things under that question, and each one will carry 2 marks, right? Or they can ask you to write short notes on all these, right? So make sure you write down the point. First one is business transaction. What is business transaction? The transaction or the money transfer that happens between 2 people or between 2 organizations. Is it clear? For 2 marks, each one will be asked. Is it clear? Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now next, cash transactions. What is cash transaction? Cash transaction. The money that is transferred, that is moving from one person to the other person. The amount that is being credited and debited to the other person's account. Like, is it clear? So the transaction that is happening, the money transaction that is happening between 2 people, okay, basically that involves a movement of money from one account to the other account. Am I clear? For Chandan, who joined in late, I am discussing terms used in bookkeeping. The first one I discussed was the business transaction. In business transaction, basically it involves a transfer of money between 2 people or between 2 organizations. Whereas cash transactions is that money, that amount of money that is being moving between 2 people or between 2 transactions that's happening. We call it as a cash transaction. Is it clear? Now, what is this credit transaction? Can somebody explain? Credit transaction? Now, there are so many things that we buy on EMI, right? So, you can buy your mobile phones on EMI. Have you all bought anything like that? Do you all have credit cards? Boys, do you all have credit cards? So how is the transaction happening with the credit? You go to the shop, you buy a product, okay? But that product is still in air. You are the owner of the product, but still it's like something like it's not yours. Unless during the next cycle you make your payment, till then the product is somewhere in air, right? So such kind of transactions we call it as credit transaction. The product is yours, but still money payment is postponed to a near future day. Are you getting what is credit transaction? The product is yours and the money is also paid, but that money payment is still being postponed to a near future day. You can pay it maybe at the beginning of the next month or maybe 15 days later or something. Some understanding is there between you and the bank, right? So that kind of transactions we call it as credit transaction. The product is yours, but the money you're agreeing to pay very close in the near future. Is it clear? Boys, am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now what are the purchases? What is purchases? I hope you're noting down these points. 2 marks questions, these things will be asked. What is business transaction? What is cash transaction? What is credit transaction? And the 4th point is purchases. What is purchases? The simple definition will be goods sold by the business are called sales. Okay? Anything that is going through selling process, we call it as sales, right? Goods sold by the business are called sales. Purchases now. What is purchases? When you're selling, it is sales. What is purchases?
Goods bought by the business.
When you're buying it, we call it as purchases. Is it clear? Now, what is purchase returns? See, we would have ordered something from our Amazon or something like that, right? There's so many online platforms where we do shopping online. Now, you would have bought some product, right? After you bought the product, you realize that it's not meeting your specifications, or it is not that you were looking for, or it is some damaged product, right? Then you always call for returns. You always ask them to exchange the product, right? So when you're exchanging the product, you are asking for a return, or you're asking for exchange or something, right? So such things will come under the purchase returns. Goods returned to the business by the customers after the sales is already made is called purchase returns. Am I clear? You purchased it, but you're not satisfied, or it's not specified, it doesn't meet your specifications, or it is lacking in some or the other thing, so you are not satisfied, so you want to give away the product, so you're returning it back to the organization. Then we call it as purchase returns. Am I clear? Should I?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next will be assets. What is assets? Assets is something, maybe it's a new term which you're coming across, the property that we have, that stock of goods, we can have the machinery, we can have whatever we are owning, right? Whatever we have within, which we are surely to have, it is called as a asset, right? In the similarly, assets can be of two form. One is tangible, the other one is intangible. Tangible is anything that we have: land, machinery, we have business, we have stock of goods, all that we call it as an asset, right? But what is an intangible asset? Intangible is something we cannot measure, like something you have called some trademark or copyrights, or somebody out of goodwill keeps giving you money. All those are intangible assets. We cannot measure them, right? It can come, it can go, we don't know, right? So these are the intangible assets. Assets are basically something we are worth it. We have something huge bulk. Our property, our net worth is based on that asset. Is it clear? For us, it can be our buildings, or it can be our lands, or it can be our apartments. Whatever we have, we own within, is called as a asset, which we are worth it, right? So that we call it as a asset. In asset, there are two types. One is tangible and intangible. Tangible is one which we can measure, like land, buildings, machineries, goods, stock of shares. All these are which we measure. We call them as tangible. Intangible is that which we cannot measure. Like if you have a copyright, if you have a goodwill, or if you have a trademark, or something like, or trade secret, or something like, we call it as a intangible asset. Is it clear? So what is liabilities? What is a liability?
Something which cannot give us any money, but rather consumes in money. I know the
Liability
meaning.
is
I know the meaning. I'm not able to tell it properly.
something which we borrow or purchase of goods on credit. Okay, we need it, so we are using it, but we still have not paid for it. It's a liability. We are yet to pay for it. It's something like credit transactions. You need it when you're in most of the organization. When we try to buy these raw materials, what happens is the raw material usually comes to us on credit. Once when our limited amount of product goes out, only then that money will be received, and part of that will go for the vendor for his raw materials, right? So based on that, we are using it, we are borrowing it, or we're using it, but money will be paid on credit. Is it clear? Liability is like, for example, if you take a bank loan, you're taking a bank loan, on every month you're paying a EMI, right? So you have taken a bank loan and you purchase some machinery. The machinery is yours, okay, but that's a liability. Still you complete that loan, it is a liability for you, right? Suppose if many of you, if you join your organizations, the company gives you a leased car, right? So the leased car which you own, that car is in your name only, but the company has paid for it. Till you pay the company back the entire car amount, it's still, there is a bond between you and the company. You can either leave the company, or you can sell the car or something. That product is in the name, is with closely linked with the company, but you are using it, right? So that kind of things will come under the liability. Am I clear? You have any doubts? Do you have any
Yes,
doubt?
ma'am.
Okay. Now next one is capital. What is capital? that excess of amount, okay, we invest in our business. Basically, capital, if you take the formula for capital, it will be the profit. The capital will be assets minus liabilities. And if it is a positive value, then definitely you're making a profit. If it is a negative value, that means you have to work on it to overcome your losses. Is it clear? So capital will always be assets minus liabilities. What is that you own at the end, right? What is that you have, right? So that will be the capital. Am you clear? Are you clear? I hope you're all noting down these points because each one will be asked. Okay. Now, what is solvent? Solvent is considered to if the assets are more than the liabilities. What is solvents? If assets are more than the liabilities, they are called as solvent. Okay. Please write down solvents. What is solvents? Solvents are those in which in the business when the assets are more than the liabilities, we call it as solvents, or it's in the case of a profit mode. Is it clear? Next one, what is insolvent? You should tell me what is insolvent.
Is more.
If the assets are less than the liabilities. Solvent is if assets are more than the liabilities, it's solvent. Insolvent is if assets are less than the liabilities. Is it clear? Boys? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What is
Yes, ma'am.
drawings? So many transactions we have seen. The cash or goods that is being withdrawn by whom? By the proprietor, by the owner of the business for its some personal use or domestic use. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Boys, if any of you are staying in the hostel, no one? I thought of giving the notes so that you can put a scanned copy in your WhatsApp group. Let me see if I can have time. On Monday, I will post, or by today, I'll try to post the notes in the Google Classroom. Is it clear? Now, on account, you have two things. One is carried forward, one is brought forward. What is carried forward? Carried forward, it is used at the foot of the page of a journal or a ledger, indicating the total amount at the top of the page. Is it clear? That amount has been brought forward. Is it clear? That amount has been forwarded at the top of the next page. From previous page to next page, when you're bringing it, it will be indicated on the top of the page. If you see, open your passbook and all, the amount, if it is there in the previous thing, it will be brought to the first page, right? That will be called as carried forward. Now, what is brought forward? Brought forward will be at the top of the page. Carried forward will be at the foot of the page. It will be at the bottom of the page. Brought forward will be at the top of the page. And let me make it very clear. Carried forward will be brought towards the end of the page. That will be at the end of the page. If you open your passbook, at the bottom, at the bottommost line will be carried forward, will be the amount that you have in your account. If you're shifting it to the next page, it will be, which is seen on the top of the page, it will be brought forward. Am I clear? When a ledger or a journal entry is made, I'm repeating it, carried forward means which is seen at the bottom of the page, brought forward means which is seen at the top of the page. Is it clear? Now quickly, what and all I discussed in today's now is terms used in bookkeeping. Terms used in bookkeeping, we have seen about business transaction. Business transaction is something that happens between two people or between two organizations. Whatever transaction happens, we call it as business transactions. Now, what is cash transactions? That amount of money that is being transferred between two people, right? We call it as a cash transactions. Now next is credit transactions. Credit transaction is you own the product but you agreed to pay the money in the near future or in the coming 10 days, or some agreement is made, right? Such kinds of transactions we call it as a credit transaction. Next we have purchases. Purchases, whatever we buy from the organization is called as the purchases. Sales will be whatever we sell, we call it as sales. Now what is purchase returns? Once when a product is sold and due to some circumstances the customer is not satisfied, so he gives back his bought product back to the organization, we call it as purchase returns. What is asset? The real proportions that we own, the physical, that they can be physical or something which is valuable of our property, we call it as an asset, right? Assets are two types, tangible and intangible. Tangible are all those we measure, like our building, land, property, machinery, stock of goods, all these comes under the tangible assets. Intangible are those which we cannot measure them, like it can be trade secret, it can be trademark, it can be copyrights, it can be goodwill, whatever is it, all those comes under which we cannot able to we cannot able to evaluate the value of the product during the business, only towards the end it can happen anytime. Such kind of value we call it as an intangible assets. Liabilities are those in which money is either borrowed or goods are either borrowed and on credit, right? So we own it but we still have to repay them back, right? So capital is always the amount of worth we have, right? So basically capital, in simple words if you have to tell, it is nothing but capital is equal to assets minus liabilities. If assets are more than the liabilities, what is it called? Boys, if assets are more than liabilities, what is it called?
Solvent.
Solvent. What is insolvent? If assets are less than the liabilities. What is drawing? Drawing account is usually the owner or the proprietor of the business who borrows the money from the, who draws the money from the business for his personal or domestic use. If we have on account, two things are there. One is carried forward, one is brought forward. Carried forward, whatever amount we have, if it is indicated at the bottom of the page or at the foot of the page, we call it as a carried forward. If it is seen on the top of the page, we call it as brought forward. Is it clear? The amount that is brought to the next page and it is seen at the topmost page, we call it as brought forward. So please make sure you prepare with these. This can be one of the important questions which can be asked in your VTU question paper or in your internals, asking you to explain any 4 or 6. Is it clear? So quickly, now this completes my first part of the module. Well, in the first part of the module, you should know functions, what is bookkeeping, what is single bookkeeping, what is double bookkeeping, what are the objectives of bookkeeping. Then you should know what is journal entry, what is ledger entry, how to balance the problem, all that you should know. If you have opened your Google Classroom, I have posted one third problem. I want you to solve that problem in today's class and post it. Boys, please make an attempt immediately when I put an assignment, post it back so that if you have any doubts, you can clarify at the earlier stage only. We have more time now, so we can have more interactions, more discussions. Your doubts will be clarified. Don't take financial management very lightly because I had some failures in the last year. So I want everybody to get good marks in this subject. So please take an attempt to go through. If you have any doubts, please come back immediately or put a question on my WhatsApp so that I can clarify your doubts. Shall I move on to the next topic, boys? Shall I move to the PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In the
Yes,
PPT, we have just moved down to forms of organization. Now, forms of organization, if you see, we have business organizations. The business organizations is broadly classified into sole partnership, partnership, okay? Sole partnership is individual. Partnership is people who are grouped up into, right? Next, we have Hindu undivided. This is usually not there, but Hindu undivided family, cooperative society, and companies, right? So these are the classifications we have for forms of organization. Now what I want you to do is I will put a video. First you see the video, then we'll have a discussion. Is it clear?
Hello and welcome to Sense Business
Boys, can you see
YouTube
the
channel.
video?
Yes.
Shall I play it?
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome to this channel and let's enjoy another topic. So today's topic is 1.4 types of business organization. Stay with me and I'll make sure that you learn this topic very easy. So we'll cover solo traders, partnership, and joint stock companies. These will be the three main headings we'll cover in this video. Okay, great. Let's begin with solo traders. So what are solo trader? A solo trader business is owned and controlled by one person. Solo traders can employ other workers, but only they can invest and own the business. So solo trader is a business that's owned by one single person. The advantages of solo trader business is that it is very easy to set up. You don't really need to follow that many documents and procedures to set up a local solo trader business, and you don't need to publish annual financial accounts. You have full control of the business. So solo traders have the full control of the business. When they are making decision, they don't need to agree with anybody. They don't need to ask anybody. They can just go ahead and make a business. Does that make sense? So solo traders receive all profit. So that is another advantage. But then on the other hand, it can be a disadvantage as well, because if it makes any losses, then the solo trader business will have to cope with that. Personal relation with the customer. You get a great personal relation with the customer when you have a solo trader. For example, your local takeaway or a corner shop. So you make that connection with the owner. But whereas, let's say, if you were to go and shop with Apple or Samsung, you wouldn't be able to make a connection with Steve Jobs. You would be making connection with some sales rep. Does that make sense? So solo traders, you can have that personal connection with the owner and you can tell them about your wants and preferences, and hopefully they might look into that and bring it next time you go to their shop. So now let's talk about the disadvantages of solo traders. So they have unlimited liabilities. What that means is that if the business has bills, debts left unpaid, legal actions will be taken against the investor, so you will be taken to court. It will be your responsibility, full responsibility of the business. So if anything goes wrong, you will be full responsible for that accident or whatever it is. Lack of capital is another disadvantages, because you're the only investor in the business, so you're not going to have a lot of money unless you're a millionaire. So the lack of capital, as you know, means money. So there will be little money going into business, especially if you're just starting out and borrowed money from bank and loans. So that will be your possibly only capital going into business, so borrowing, banks, and some savings. Other than that, that's a full stop there. Lack of continuity, what that means is, so if the owner of a solo trader business dies or retires, the business will be at a full stop and it will run out of business, unless of course they sell it on to other people. Whoa, great stuff. We have just covered solo traders. So now let's talk about partnership, because that is also very important. So what is a partnership business? A partnership is a legal agreement between two or more people, usually up to 20 people, to own, finance, and run a business together and to share all profit. That is what a partnership is. There are advantages and disadvantages to partnership, just like it is to everything else. So let's talk about the advantages first of all, because you will probably need them for your exam. So the advantages are they are easy to set up. They are just like solo traders with just a few extra legal activities that you'll need to accomplish in order to be in partnership, to make sure that nobody cheats or does something within the business. You don't need to publish any financial accounts to the public. It is just between you and the partners that you have. It can be 1, 2, 3, as many partners as you like, up to 20 people. Another advantage is that partners can provide new skills and ideas. So if there's 2, 3 of you in a business, you could put the 3 ideas together and make great amounts of profit and bring in new customers and so on. A little more capital investment than solo trader. And solo trader, you would be the only person investing in the business. Whereas in partnership, there's 3, 4, 5 of you, there's up to 20 of you that could all put their money into the business and make something great out of it. So you have more capital investment. Now let's talk about the disadvantages. As you guessed it, the first disadvantage is the conflict. Because if there's 2 people, there's always going to be an issue, especially when decision making. So if there's one person that wants to bring in a new product and another person's not so pleased about it, there will be some sort of conflict between the 2 partners, and that could result in business falling or failing. Unlimited liabilities. Similar to solo traders, partners too have unlimited liabilities. Their personal items are at risk if business goes bankrupt. So that's another disadvantage. Lack of capital. So smaller capital investments as compared to large companies. So again, if there's 2, 3, 4 of you, but you only have a little amount of investment, so then again, there's little amount of money going into the business. So your capital is not great, but it is good just to run the business. Again, just like solo trader, there could be no continuity. If all the partners dies or retire, the business could just die as well. Unless, of course, they sell it on to the new owners who will keep the same name and continue the business as it is. Great stuff. We have reached 8 minutes and I want to share a great joke with you just to give you a little bit of energy to continue this video. So here is the joke. Old man has 8 hair on his head. He went to the barber shop. The barber was really angry with him and asked the old man, he said, "Shall I cut your hair or count your hair?" The old man, who was very wise, he sat down on a chair and smiled and then said, "Color it." So now what this means is just enjoy life with whatever you have with you. Keep smiling. So now let's get back to the topic this video, which is joint stock companies. So far we covered the solo traders and partnership, and now we're gonna cover the
See, when you see this joint stock company, for us it is the corporation culture which we follow, right? So we have sole traders, we have partnership, and the last one, according to a syllabus, is corporate organizations, which we have, right? So this one will come under the corporation category. Boys, are you with me? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. So joint stock company means for us it is corporation. We have taken for corporation here.
The joint stock companies. So these companies can sell shares. Unlike partnership and solo traders to raise capital, other people can buy these shares. So in joint stock companies, people can buy shares so the companies can raise capital. And people that buy these shares are called shareholders. The more shares you have in a company, the more vote or the more powerful your vote becomes. Dividend is part of the profit, a return on investment. So let's say if you invest some money in an organization and they make lots of profit, so that profit will be divided, and then according to your share, they'll give that profit back to you as an investment. So this can also be called dividend. The shareholders in companies have unlimited liabilities. That is, only their individual investment are at risk. So joint stock companies, the shareholders, limited liabilities. That means only the money they have invested in the business is at risk. So if the business goes bankrupt, only their money will be lost. Or if the business is taken to court or sued, the shareholder cannot be sued. It'll be just that their money will be gone. The companies have a separate legal identity from their owners, which is why the owners have unlimited liabilities. these companies are incorporated. Companies also enjoys continuity, so unlike partnership and solo traders, joint stock companies can continue for however long as they like, even if the owners retire or die. Then the shareholders will elect a board of director to manage and run the company in its day-to-day activities. So it can be shareholder with the highest percentage of shares can become the director, or the entire shareholders collectively select somebody or hire somebody to become board of director for that company. There are two types of companies: limited companies and public limited companies. Limited companies have one or more owners who can sell its shares to only people known by the existing shareholders, family and friends. Or you could have public limited companies, two or more owners who can sell its share to any individual organization in general public through stock exchange. So private limited companies can sell their shares to people known by the existing shareholders, and public limited companies will sell their shares in through stock exchange. There's 100 companies out there that do that. And advantages of joint stock companies are limited liability. This is because the company and the shareholders have separate legal identity. Raise huge amount of capital, so because you're selling shares and have lots of people investing in the business, you have huge amounts of capital. Disadvantage of this type of company is that requires to disclose financial information. So sometimes private limited companies are required by law to publish their financial statements annually. While for public limited companies, it is legally compulsory to publish all accounts and reports. All the writing, printing, and publishing of such details can prove to be very expensive, and all the competing companies could use it to learn the company's secrets and do better than them. And private limited companies cannot sell shares to public, so you need to remember that. Private limited companies cannot sell shares to the public. Their shares can only be sold to people they know with the agreement of all the shareholders. Transfer of share is restricted here. Lesser capital than public limited companies. Public limited companies require a lot of legal documents and investigations before it can be listed on stock exchange. Public and private limited companies must also hold an annual general meeting where shareholders are informed about the performance of the company and company decision, vote on strategic decisions, and elect board of directors. This is very expensive to set up, especially if there are thousands of shareholders. Public limited companies may have managerial problems since they are very large. Can you imagine a company with thousands of employees? They become very difficult to manage. Communication problems may occur, which will slow down decision making, and there's voting involved in all sorts. And public limited companies, there might be a divorce of ownership and control. The shareholders can lose control of the company when all the large shareholders outvote them, or when board of directors control the company decision. So that is all you need to know for joint stock companies. Before I end this video, I want to talk about two other businesses, just in case that two other types of businesses, just in case if they do come in exam, you know about them. And they are franchise and joint venture. So franchise is a form of business where you buy the right to use the name, logo, and product of an existing business. For example, it can be Burger King, McDonald's, KFC, Subway, anything, any business that does franchise. So the franchisor is the person that owns the business, the owner of the brand, and franchisee is the person that buys the right. So the benefits of franchising is that there's less chance of business failure as the brand is well known. For example, McDonald's, anywhere in the world knows that. Franchisor provides advice and training, so you are constantly provided with advice, training, and successful ways that have worked previously that resulted in the business becoming so famous. Franchisor will finance the promotion of the brand internationally, so all the promotion will be financed by the franchisor, so the brand owner. So franchisor guarantees the quality of supply because everything that you get will be from the franchisor, and they will make sure that the quality of the products are great. Disadvantages could be that initial cost of buying franchise is expensive. So if you want to go ahead and open a McDonald's in your local area, there you might have to pay a license fee of £1 million at a minimum. So you need a lot of capital to begin with. Franchisor takes a percentage of revenue or profit made by the franchisee. So that means even though you have paid the fee, you still need to pay a loyalty fee. Still need to pay an amount of money every year on the profit that you have made. There's strict controls over what the franchisee is allowed to do. So even though it's your business, you bought the license, you are paying loyalty fees, you are still restricted to the amount of things you can do, because after all, the franchisor, the brand owner, doesn't want to get bad name. Franchisee pay for local promotion, so if you want to, even though some promotion is done by the franchisor, you still might need to do some local promotion, which will cost you again. So this is what a franchise company is. Joint venture. So this is a great way of doing business. So what joint venture type of business do is that two or more businesses agree to do some work together on a project and set up a business for a purpose. So they will have a purpose, and two or three businesses will come together to accomplish that purpose and probably build a new business to fulfill that purpose. So the benefits are to reduce risk and cut costs, because the costs will be divided into different businesses, and each will pay little amount to cover the cost. Each business brings its own experience to the joint venture, and it becomes a great business rather than a failure. Does that make sense? Because 2-3 successful businesses put money together to make another great business. Market knowledge can be shared, so different businesses will bring their market ideas, knowledge, and they'll put it together to this new business and build a great business. The downside can be that any mistake made may damage the reputation of all firms. Different styles of leadership, decision making may be difficult because one company will have one sort of decision making structure, and the other company will have another structure of business decision making. So there could be some conflict there as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I wish you success in your studies. Please make sure that you subscribe to this channel, like and share, and make sure that you show it to your classmates, because we all like doing something good.
So boys, so you should tell me how is it? So what you have understood from partnership and individual business and through corporation. Rachel, you're not audible. Are you trying to tell something?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What is now the benefits of doing business individually? If you're supposed to start a business, would you do it individually or you would do it in partnership? If you're doing individually, what is the pros and what is the cons?
Ma'am, the advantages of doing it individually are like it is easy to set up, and new ideas and skills can be implemented right away, and there is little capital, but more control. Disadvantages disadvantages are there no conflicts. I'm the only person with I'm the only liability. Like I'm responsible for everything, and there is no continuity.
Okay. And what about partnership? Somebody else? Chandan, can you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It is jointly owned.
Huh.
Telling the advantages. Hello.
Okay. Okay. So
Easy
what
to.
are the advantages and disadvantages?
It is jointly owned
Okay.
and easy to set.
Jointly own advantage ಆಗತ್ತಪ್ಪ.
No, it's like a feature.
Okay.
Easy to set up.
Joint are easy to set up. Okay, many
Yes.
people are there. Okay.
And new skills and ideas.
New skills and ideas. You can take support from everybody. Okay.
And more capital investments can be done.
More capital investment is there. Okay.
And the disadvantages are conflict between the partners.
Conflict between the partners. Then
And the lack of capital.
lack of capital. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you give some examples of how some real industries they are working and how they share profits and all that? Do you read your newspapers, everyday newspapers? Read Wednesday, Times News?
Not really, ma'am.
Not really. Okay. Mm. Then, what about corporation? No, are you heard of your parents doing your insurance, lifetime insurance, all that? Or are you aware of all that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What does these insurance actually do?
They take a small amount of money from many people and give it to business at high interest rates. And whenever we require money, they give us huge amount of money whenever something happens to us or like that.
Okay. That will be life insurance. Okay. What about others?
Car insurance.
Car insurance. What happens to the car insurance? Tell me, what happens to the car insurance? How is the routine?
Insurance company takes small part of some part of your car value.
Some part of your car value. Okay.
And if some accident happens, then they will provide us that huge amount of money.
That huge amount money. Okay. So every year we happen to pay some car insurance premium, right? Based on that, once if accidents happen, then they say that we will give you the money, right? That's how the business goes. Now, how do you think these people make actually money? How is the profit that is evolving around them? Well, if you don't talk, then I'll stop the class.
Ma'am, when they take money
think
from
they
us,
give money at a high interest.
They earn money through interest. Is it clear? So that's how that interest can be either now some people will be in the business, right? Some people will be what you say, some people will be in the business, they, this close associated people will be trying to invest at some money, and when they try to share these policies with a large number of people, what happens will be like they're getting some, eventually when so many people starts depositing money, they'll get a large bulk money, right? And how many accidents happen in a year? Maybe one or two. So based on that, that bulk money they are going to give for those accident people. For those people, they're going to spend some part of it, right? Rest and all, when they give it for some other organization, when they try to give it for some other organization, they are going to get huge amount of profit by getting the interest, right? So these are basically dividend, on based on dividend how they make money, right? So this is kind of corporationship business. Is it clear? See boys, in today's class I have once again, see, if you see, we have I have posted this book in your Google Classroom. I want you to, I will post my notes also. I want you to keep prepared with this, okay? Can you see this, right? The word file which I'm sharing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I
Yes.
want you to go through this. See, this one, the scope, elements, objectives, functions, okay? Bookkeeping, financial statements, single entry and double entry, or up till here transactions, accounts, rules of debit and credit. Debit, this explanation, we have three rules, right? For all that I've given the thing, you go through it. Then from here, whatever is there, if you have understood the problem, then this is all same thing which is explained with the help of the problem. Trial balance entry, okay? What is working capital? What is the, how to make a balance sheet form? One capital on all the one side, assets on all the other side. This one I will teach you in the working capital management, but this is how a balance sheet format is there. You should know about this. Liabilities and all will come on one side, assets and all will come on one side, right? Finally, the assets and liabilities should be balanced for a balance sheet format. This one I will explain in the working capital management, but you should know what and all will come under the capital, what and all will come under liabilities, what and all will come under the assets. You should be in a position to make sure to write this format. Is it clear? Then what are fixed assets, the investments, current liabilities, unsecured loans, all this will be the part of the first module. In the second module, first thing I have done, forms of organization. You go through this forms of organization. You have sole proprietorship, that is individual business. Then you have business on partnership. Then you have business on corporation. Corporation is basically there is a person who is composed of several individuals with having some agreement between them, right? And how they divide their profit among the other peoples who and all have invested them, what kind of investment they make. First of all, if you see, their four advantages is, when once we have limited liabilities, by doing this corporation business we can make more money. Then there is a, by doing so we have a permanency in the business. Then there will be a flexibility. Then there will be ability to raise the capital. These are the four advantages. You should know about this. For you, these three only are there. Now other types of business organizations will be same thing which we have, sole, partnership, corporation are three form of business organizations. And till here I think I have covered in today's class. In tomorrow's class I'll be discussing about direct and indirect tax. This hardly will take about I think you are all very much aware, this hardly will take one class for me. After this class, one complete module is done. One complete module will be is posted today only. If you open your Google Classroom, I have posted the complete material for the first unit. So please go through. We will not spend more time on the theory part, because next unit I want to do the fifth module, which encompasses of lots of problems such as budgeting and costing. So I want to finish that. Am I clear? After one class, I'm going to go to the fifth module, which I'm doing the budgeting and costing. Are you okay with it, or you want me to spend more time with the theory?
It's okay, ma'am.
It's okay. So you please go with the theory, go through with the theory. The next class, after doing direct and indirect taxes, I will start doing budgeting and costing. Is it clear? And today's assignment, I have posted one problem. I want you to completely solve it and submit it in the assignment. And already one problem I would have asked you to submit. Not many of you have submitted. Please submit all the assignments which I have asked you to submit. And I have also posted some quiz. It hardly takes about 3 questions I have posted. So please make sure you answer those quiz as well. Is it clear? Quickly to take down the attendance, I have Baswaraj here. Baswaraj is present.
Yes, ma'am.
Chandan,
Yeah, present, ma'am.
English is there. Rajwal,
Present, ma'am.
Prince, Saranaya,
Present, ma'am.
Sumuk.
Yes, ma'am.
Boys, if anybody is not there in the classroom, please ask them to join the classroom because every material I'm posting there only. Okay? I hope
Yeah,
everybody
okay.
is there, especially those Simika and some new people have joined them. No, please ask them to join the Google Classroom. Okay? Thank you then. Have a good day.
Thank you.